Some people disappear and life barely changes. No one asks, no one wonders, no silence in the room feels different because they are gone. But other people leave and something shifts. A place feels colder. A conversation feels thinner. The room is the same, but it no longer feels the same. Why? Not because they were louder. Not because they talked the most. Not because they were always available, always texting, always proving, always performing. No, people feel your absence when your presence carried weight. When being around you felt different, calmer, safer, clearer. Most people spend their lives trying to be noticed. The Stoics aimed for something deeper, to become worthy of being remembered. And there is a difference, because attention can be stolen, but respect has to be earned. And emotional imprint comes from character, from self-command, from restraint, from dignity, from knowing when to speak, when to stop, and when to walk away without dragging your soul behind you. That is what this is about. Not manipulation, not how to make someone chase you, not dating games disguised as wisdom. This is about 6 words. 6 simple words that change the way people experience you. Words that remove desperation. Words that create gravity. Words that make your presence feel real so that when you are gone, people feel the difference. Stay with me, because the last word is the one most people spend their whole lives trying to find in others without ever building it within themselves. Before we begin, understand this. Stoicism is not about making people suffer in your absence. It is about becoming the kind of person whose presence leaves peace behind. That is a very different thing. The goal is not to be missed because you played games. The goal is to be remembered because you brought something rare into people's lives. Clarity instead of confusion, restraint instead of chaos, and calm instead of need. Once you understand that, everything changes. Let us begin. Word 1, no. The first word is no. Small word, heavy consequence. Because every time you say yes when your spirit means no, you teach people that access to you is automatic. And what is automatic is rarely cherished. This is where so many people lose themselves, not all at once, not dramatically, but one reluctant yes at a time. Yes, I will come. Yes, I will stay longer. Yes, I will answer now. Yes, I will tolerate it. Yes, I will make room for what keeps draining me. At first, it looks like kindness, but eventually it becomes self-betrayal. There is a painful truth most people never say aloud. Many are not exhausted because life is hard. They are exhausted because they have been living as if their peace belongs to everyone else. Marcus Aurelius did not teach a life of endless availability. Epictetus did not teach that virtue means becoming easy to use. They taught self-governance. And if you cannot govern your own time, your own energy, your own mind, someone else will. Imagine a man who spends years making himself reachable to everyone. He answers every call, shows up for every crisis, carries every burden, never declines, never pushes back, never says this costs me too much. At first, people praise him. They call him dependable, loyal, generous. But slowly something changes. His presence is no longer appreciated. It is expected. His effort is no longer honored. It is assumed. And the moment he finally pulls back, people act shocked. Not because he changed, because they had mistaken his lack of boundaries for devotion. That is why no matters, not as cruelty, as clarity. Because every calm, unapologetic no sends a message. My life is not public property. My energy is not endlessly available. My presence is not something you get by default. And strangely enough, that is when people begin to value it. Because people rarely miss what they could always have without care. They miss what had shape. They miss what had standards. They miss what could not be consumed casually. So the first word is no, not to reject life, to stop rejecting yourself. If your peace disappears every time someone asks something of you, you are not protecting your life. You are renting it out. And one day, you will wake up tired from being available to everyone except yourself. Word 2, enough. The second word is enough. Most people do not know when enough is enough. They wait too long. They wait until they are humiliated, until they are depleted, until the disrespect becomes obvious enough that denial is no longer possible. Only then do they say, "This is too much." But the wise learn to say it earlier, not when the damage is complete, when the pattern is clear. That is what self-respect looks like, not dramatic escape, not rage, recognition. Enough chasing people who enjoy being chased. Enough explaining your value to those committed to misunderstanding it. Enough returning to spaces where your dignity is the price of admission. Enough shrinking your truth to preserve a false peace. There is a kind of suffering people mistake for virtue. They call it patience. They call it loyalty. They call it understanding. But sometimes it is not patience. Sometimes it is fear. Fear that if you stop tolerating what wounds you, you will end up alone. So you stay too long in the wrong room, too long in the wrong bond, too long in the wrong version of yourself. Until one day something quiet inside you says, "Enough." Not in anger, in awakening. Seneca wrote that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. But many people suffer because reality has been warning them for months, and they keep calling it hope. Enough is the moment you stop negotiating with what your soul already knows. You know when a conversation drains you. You know when a relationship becomes one-sided. You know when you are forcing life instead of living it. The problem is usually not confusion, it is courage. Enough is courage made visible. And when you finally live it, people feel your absence because your energy changes. You stop overextending. You stop over-explaining. You stop over-remaining. You no longer stay until you are broken. You leave when truth becomes clear. That is not coldness, that is wisdom. So the second word is enough, not because you hate the world, because you have finally stopped volunteering for your own depletion. Word 3, wait. The third word is wait. One of the most powerful disciplines in Stoicism is the ability to delay reaction. Wait before answering. Wait before defending yourself. Wait before sending the message emotion wants to send. Wait before turning one painful moment into a permanent mistake. Most people think speed is strength. It is not. Very often, speed is anxiety. Look at what happens in conflict. Someone insults you. Your mind races. Someone ignores you. Your stomach tightens. Someone misunderstands you. Immediately, the urge appears. I need to explain. I need to fix this. I need to answer now. I need to prove myself before silence turns against me. But the Stoic understands something rare. Between what happens and what you choose to do, there is a space. And inside that space lives freedom. Lose the space and you become a puppet. Protect the space and you become difficult to control. Imagine a mountain lake. Throw a stone into it and the water becomes distorted. Demand a reflection immediately and you will see only ripples. But if you wait, the surface settles. The image returns. Clarity was not missing. Stillness was. This is how judgment works. Most people do not ruin things because they are foolish. They ruin them because they are flooded. Flooded by anger. Flooded by fear. Flooded by ego. Flooded by the old wound that wants to speak before wisdom has arrived. Marcus Aurelius trained himself not to be dragged around by first impressions. That is why waiting matters. Because some of your worst sentences are born in moments that felt urgent but were only emotional. One text can damage dignity. One impulsive response can undo months of peace. One rushed decision can tie you again to something you had finally outgrown. So wait, not forever, not from cowardice, but long enough for your higher mind to enter the room, long enough for the fire to stop choosing your words, long enough to ask, is this truth or just pain demanding movement? People remember those who react to everything, but they trust those who know how to pause, because waiting creates steadiness, and steadiness creates safety, and safety leaves an imprint. So the third word is wait, because dignity often arrives a few moments after emotion. Ask yourself, how many of your deepest regrets began with "I reacted too quickly," and how many of your wisest decisions came after one night of silence? Time does not solve everything, but it protects you from becoming the servant of your first emotion. Word 4, silence. The fourth word is silence. Not empty silence, not punishing silence, not silence used as a weapon. The silence of someone who no longer needs to force meaning into every room. Most people are terrified of silence because silence reveals things. It reveals insecurity. It reveals restlessness. It reveals the need to be reassured, noticed, validated, confirmed. That is why so many people talk beyond truth. They explain too much, defend too fast, fill every pause, add 10 paragraphs to a sentence that was already enough. Why? Because silence feels dangerous. It feels like surrender. But often silence is not surrender, it is self-command. There is a kind of strength that speaks less because it no longer needs to wrestle every misunderstanding to the ground. It knows this. Not every person deserves your full explanation. Not every accusation deserves your panic. Not every room deserves your energy. Epictetus reminded us that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. But silence is not only how you listen to others. It is how you listen to reality. It is how you notice what someone's behavior is saying while their words keep shifting. It is how you recognize when peace leaves your body in someone's presence. It is how you hear the truth you were too busy talking over. Imagine 2 people entering a room. The first fills every space, comments on everything, explains every feeling, needs every silence repaired. The second watches, listens, speaks only when something meaningful arrives. Who leaves the deeper mark? Usually not the louder one, the rarer one. Because rarity creates gravity, and gravity creates memory. This is one of life's strange paradoxes. When you stop chasing understanding from everyone, your presence becomes heavier. Because now your words cost something. Now your attention has shape. Now your silence is not emptiness, it is substance. People begin to notice what your presence had been doing all along. The calm you carried, the softness you brought, the effort you gave without spectacle. And when that disappears, they feel the outline of what is missing. That is what silence does. It does not create value. It reveals value that noise had been hiding. So the 4th word is silence, because the strongest presence in the room is often the one least interested in proving it. Word 5, thank you. The 5th word is thank you. Not the automatic version, not the distracted version, not the social reflex people throw around without seeing each other. The kind of gratitude that makes a person feel recognized in their character, not merely acknowledged for their function. Because people do not remember everyone who spoke to them. They remember the ones who made them feel seen. There is a difference between saying, thanks for helping, and saying, I noticed how patient you were when no one else was. Or, I admire how steady you stayed under pressure. Or, you have a way of making people feel safe. One praises action, the other recognizes essence, and that difference goes deep. Most people are appreciated for what they do. Very few are deeply seen for who they are becoming. That is why sincere gratitude can change someone. Not because it flatters them, because it tells the truth about something beautiful in them that the world rarely pauses long enough to name. Imagine a daughter caring for an aging parent for years, driving, waiting, helping, showing up quietly over and over again. Everyone says, thank you for all you do. But one day someone says, I hope you know your patience reveals the kind of soul you have. And suddenly her eyes fill with tears. Why? Because the task was not what hurt. Invisibility was, and in one sentence she no longer feels invisible. This is why gratitude creates emotional imprint. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that every person is carrying burdens you cannot see. The cashier who looks impatient, the friend who seems distant, the quiet coworker, the exhausted parent, the smiling neighbor. You know almost nothing about the private battles people are surviving. So when your gratitude becomes specific, it becomes healing. You are no longer rewarding usefulness. You are restoring dignity. And that is unforgettable. People may forget your advice. They may forget your stories. They may forget what you wore, what you said, what day it was. But they will not easily forget the person who made them feel that their quiet effort mattered. This is one of the deepest Stoic truths. Virtue matters more than performance. Success depends on circumstances. Character depends on choice. When you thank someone for their character, you touch the deepest place in them. And when you leave, that feeling remains. So the fifth word is thank you, because those who make others feel genuinely seen are remembered long after the conversation ends. Think of someone you still remember with gratitude, not because they were flashy, not because they were important, but because around them you felt a little more human. That is the effect you never forget, not performance, presence. Word 6, peace. The final word is peace. This is the one everything has been building toward. Because in the end, people do not miss attention as deeply as they miss peace. They do not miss noise. They do not miss performance. They do not even miss availability in the way they think they do. What they miss is how they felt around you. Did your presence bring pressure or relief? Did your energy create confusion or calm? Did people leave your company more exhausted or more grounded? This is the final measure. Not how many people wanted you, not how many praised you, not how many kept you close, but what atmosphere followed you into a room. There are people who enter every conversation carrying agitation. They rush, complain, react, dominate, need reassurance, turn every interaction into an emotional bill someone else has to pay. You leave feeling smaller. Then there are others. They walk in quietly. They listen. They do not compete for attention. They do not need to win every exchange. When conflict appears, they do not multiply it. When praise appears, they do not cling to it. When criticism appears, they do not collapse. And somehow, after being with them, you feel lighter. That is peace. And peace is rare. Marcus Aurelius lived among war, betrayal, disease, and constant instability. Yet again and again, he returned to one discipline: protect the ruling center of your mind. Guard your inner world. Because whatever rules you internally will eventually overflow into every room you enter. If your mind is chaos, your presence will carry chaos. If your mind is ordered, your presence will carry order. There is an old image worth remembering. Two fires. One burns loudly, throwing sparks everywhere, demanding to be seen. The other burns steadily, warming the room without begging for attention. When both disappear, which one do people search for? Usually not the loud one, the steady one, the one that felt like home. That is what peace does. It makes your presence feel like rest in a restless world. And when that kind of person leaves, people feel it. Not because they were dependent, because something stabilizing is gone. Epictetus taught that no one can disturb your mind without your cooperation. Imagine the gravity of living that way. Imagine becoming so internally anchored that another person's chaos no longer gets to choose your character. That is not detachment from life. That is mastery within life. And ironically, that is when your absence starts to matter most. Because people do not deeply miss dependency. They miss steadiness. They miss restraint. They miss kindness without noise. They miss the person who never demanded attention yet somehow made everything feel less heavy. That is unforgettable. So the final word is peace, because peace is the highest form of presence, and the rarest gift one human being can leave in another. So remember the 6 words. No, protect your energy. Enough. Recognize the pattern before it destroys your dignity. Wait. Let wisdom arrive before reaction. Silence. Stop spending words where presence is enough. Thank you. Let people feel seen in their character. Peace. Become the calm that lingers after you leave. Notice something important. None of these require charm. None of these require beauty, status, or perfect language. None of them depend on being more impressive than anyone else. They depend on discipline, and discipline, unlike attention, does not fade with trends. This is why some people leave a room and the room keeps remembering them, not because they entertained everyone, not because they made themselves available, not because they chased significance, but because around them life felt a little less fractured, a little less loud, a little more honest. In the end, that is what people carry, not your performance, not your image, not how hard you tried to be unforgettable. They carry the emotional truth of your presence. Did you bring clarity? Did you bring dignity? Did you bring steadiness? Did you bring peace? That is your real legacy. So do not ask, how do I make people miss me? Ask something better. What do people feel when they are around me? Because if the answer is more seen, more settled, more respected, more at peace, then you will never need to force absence. Your presence already had weight, and weight leaves an echo.